Aloha, everyone. Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness and Stand Together Hawaii.com. And I am so excited because I'm here with Rose and she's in the UK and she has got a story for us that's going to absolutely blow your mind. It is regarding how the system got into place, how maritime law got into place on land. So we have to understand there's three jurisdictions: land, air, water. And we are actually, when you go into the court system, our birth certificates, all that is on water, but we're actually on land. And so she's going to explain how this happened and also our power to get out of the system, get back to freedom, which is our absolute right from God. We don't have the rights, our inalienable rights are not from the government, they're from God, you guys. So Rose, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Michelle.
I'd love to start with your journey.
Where to start?
Yeah, I'd love to start with your journey because this
Um,
is big time.
I
Yeah.
say, from a child, I knew that there was something seriously wrong. We had to leave where we came from and come to England, yeah, and start all anew because our land had been misappropriated, stolen. And so I always knew, but I can't really remember where I first heard of common law. But I think when the penny dropped was when I read Judge Dale's expose, because when I heard it from a judge, I thought I can trust this because he's in the system, or he was, so he should know. And being a judge, it just rang true for me. So from Judge Dale's expose, I started getting interested, but couldn't find any information at all. No matter how much you look online, you're not going to find it. Or just before we go any further, when you just said it's land, air, and water, that's law, L-A-W.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So so I just then, about a year later, I met someone at a party who was an ex-policeman, and he worked for the Metropolitan Police for about 25 years. That's the London police. And he was quite a mature gentleman. And then when he was about 50, the police asked him to, when they have to, when something happens and they have to they have to do an investigation. So this 80-year-old man had got killed by two policemen who were speeding around at 6 a.m., 80 miles an hour around a town. And some old man was just coming out of a side street and they just whacked him, killed him, and said it was an accident. But the family wouldn't let it lie. The family said, well, our father didn't speed or anything. We know this isn't true. So they asked my friend who I met at the party to investigate it. And he said the chief took him into a room and said, blah, 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 yes, you're going to do this investigation. And Bear nods as good as a wink. You know what the right result is that you've got to find. Yeah. So my friend did the investigation. He went out on the roads, examined all the skid marks, all that, did all that stuff. And he said, my conclusion was that they were doing about 80 miles an hour and his car was just coming out slowly. And so he refused to do the cover-up. Well, he was hounded out of the police. He lost all his pension. He had death threats. He had to go into hiding. Him and his wife had to live at secret addresses for the rest of their lives. Still now, rented accommodation. And because he'd been in the police force for so long and he was quite high up, he knew what the real thing was. So he turned completely and became a common law policeman or peace constable. And he gave me my first, we had a seminar here at the house, and he showed me the main bulk of the paperwork. He brought a lot of paperwork about the Zeitgeist fund, all the notices, stuff like that, affidavits, all that. And then I knew it was for real. I knew it was real. And that's when I seriously thought, I've got to start taking my power back, and everyone else has too.
So, where are you at in the process of becoming sovereign and becoming free out of the system? Have you done it completely?
No, no, not at all.
It's
I've
a lot.
only just started. It's a hell of a lot to take on, Michelle. And when you
Yeah, it
first
is.
hear about it, you're excited. Yeah, you become really excited and think, wow, I can get free. This is great. But then the next stage is when you look at the amount of work we've got to do. You see, common law is very, very simple, but legislation is very, very complicated.
For a
And
reason.
for a reason. And we've got to deal with that legislation.
Hmm.
You know, we've got to attack it, answer it, but we've got to understand it before we can do that, you know. So you've got to get your head around all this horrific legal jargon,
Hmm.
which can be a real headache. And then you realise that it's a lot of responsibility to take on. Because really, when you take back your power, you're taking back your responsibilities as well.
Yeah.
Because what they've encouraged us to do is become like children.
Yeah.
Just let them take all the responsibility, and we just pay them, yeah, trust them, and hope for the best. Well,
Yeah.
look where we are. Look where we are now. It's the writings on the wall. They're not looking after our interests. That trust was misplaced.
Hmm.
So that when you realise how much work we've got to do and how much the responsibility is, you know, it's not such fun then, and it can come as a big shock, and it can be overwhelming, you know,
Hmm.
quite overwhelming. And that's why I say it's not for everyone. If you want your power back, you've got to take the responsibility back too. And it's a big deal.
Yeah, and I feel like you
Mm,
know in your heart if it's yours to do.
yeah,
Like as soon as this all whole thing went down with in Hawaii, I was like, oh, this is why I came here. So so that's it. But I want to talk about how did maritime law become law on land? Because you sent me an email that I was just so intrigued. It's so interesting. It should be a movie. But share that part, and then we'll also go back to the steps to getting free.
it is interesting. So we had the law of the land in England, yeah, which was, if you think about it, we say, oh, we've been in slavery for thousands of years. So how come we had those rights, that common law to go back to? Because that was only developed around 1100s, that hundreds, that kind of time. So what happened? You know, so in England before that, there were the serfs, yeah, and the lords. So there's only two class of people, those with no rights and those with all rights. Those with no money, those with all the money. Those with no land, those with all the land. So the lords could just treat the serfs like filth. They didn't have to pay them. They were tied to the land. Yeah, they just had a little plot of land to grow a few veg, and then they had to work for the Lord for the rest of their time. So labour was worth nothing. Everybody had to be a labourer. Yeah, they had no power at all. So what happened then? The Black Plague came along. I think there were two plagues. I'm not sure about that. But when the plague happened, it wiped out all the serfs. Yeah. So then you got the lords left. So who emerged? Well, this is when the middle classes emerged. They said, well, we're not going to work for you for nothing now. We want the fair pay, because there weren't many people around to work. So the lords had to say, oh, okay then. So they had to give them, they then insisted on rights, and, you know, fair pay, all the rest of it, some power. And this is where the middle classes came up. So then you haven't just got serfs and lords, you've got the lords, then a middle class, and then the workers. Yeah. So this middle class are really society's bulwark against tyranny. And this is why they want to wipe out the middle classes now. And if you think about it, since 9/11, yeah, they've made a massive effort to wipe out the middle class. I mean, in the early 2000s, yeah, there was this big, you know, property boom. Yeah, they were encouraging all the middle classes to get hocked up to the eyeballs in debt, buy big, lovely houses, and they did. Yeah,
Yes.
so you've got two doctors working, a wife and a husband. They buy a fabulous house. They're mortgaged up to the hilt. Next thing, they start putting the interest rates up. After about a year or two, their mortgage repayments, they couldn't pay them. I mean, in the early 2000s, the interest rates were 17% here.
Dude.
In a couple of years, you had people who had been doctors, solicitors on the streets, literally living on the streets.
Wow.
Okay, so that was the first big assault on the middle class. Then in 2008,
Yep.
the big crash, that was the big assault on the American middle class. That was when they aimed to wipe out the American middle class. You know, they did all the foreclosures. They encouraged everyone to get mortgaged up to the eyeballs. Then they pulled the plug on them. This is what they do. And I think they were pretty successful in that. So if they want to taking out the middle class, you can be sure the next stage is back to serfdom. Because the middle class provide all the jobs that aren't corporate. You know, with these little businesses, little specialized businesses where people can get nice jobs. You know, they're not working for a big faceless corporation. They're working for a family company. And, you know, working class people can live a nice life like that, working for the middle class people.
Yeah.
So they want to take the middle class out now, and they're doing quite well at that. Anyway, so we go back to that. So this is where the common law was set up through this middle class that emerged. And then they became the kings. They had this witan, they called it a witan, you know, in the Anglo-Saxon times, which would be a group of about 12 men, or maybe 12 to 20 men, I'm not sure, who would be around the king, advising him, and that his linked to the people and to the middle classes, and then they're linked to the working classes. And this is where they developed the common law. So that's how we got the rights.
And then Maritime, like, yeah, talk. This is about pirates, you guys, this part.
So we had these rights. So when we got to Queen Elizabeth's time, her father had cut us off from Rome, hadn't he? Because he wanted to, they say it's because he wanted to marry that woman, but really it was because he wanted to steal all the Catholic property in England, all the artwork, sell it off because he was broke. So by the time Elizabeth came to the throne, he'd spent England was broke, yeah? So it was covered in oak trees at the time, and we built these amazing ships that some are still here today. And so she sent Sir Raleigh, what's his name?
Is it Roger Raleigh? Is that right?
Walter Raleigh. She sent Sir Walter Raleigh out on the high seas to go and get some treasure. So he went over, you know, I think he found the West Indies and all those, and come back with boats full of everything from everywhere. So she must have thought, oh, this is good. So they kept doing that, going out. So then after a couple of 100 years or even 100 years, they'd gone to lots of places around the world, gone on land rather than just going onto the land and stealing treasure and getting back to England. They decided to make landfall, stay, They found all the people, the indigenous people, friendly and with no arms, defenseless, friendly, innocent, naive. And they were able to get these people to force them to start mining. Well, they enslaved them, forced them to start mining all their natural resources, then stole it off them and paid them a slave wage. So they're bringing all this stuff back to England. So say we say Elizabeth's in the 1500s, yeah? So by the 1600s, we're a wealthy nation by this time. So in 1666, they set London on fire. Now, this has been, I know, I'm pretty certain they did it now. Now we see the way they're setting all these towns and cities on fire because they've got other plans, yeah? So at that stage, London was just, it was just all wooden buildings, you know. So they burnt it to the ground. And with all the wealth they'd stolen from abroad, they built London City. Now, if you go to London, you just look around you and think, my God, where did all this wealth come from? Well, they stole it. So they burnt London down, a little full of shacks and wooden houses and that, and built it on Freemasonic sacred geometry. You can see that it's built on sacred geometry. So they'd enslaved half the world, yeah? They'd run out of world to enslave. So they came back home and thought, we'll enslave the English. But we had common law, didn't we? Which they came up against a brick wall there, so they couldn't do it. So they very slowly, very secretly, over a long, long time, brought the law of the sea onto the land. But we've just got to explain that bit about the ships, yeah? So when the people started trading, this is nothing to do with the pirates and the slavery and all that. This is genuine trade. Yeah. Say it started when the Vikings started coming, yeah. So the ships had come over with all their stuff. We'd take it, then they might order a load more stuff from Scandinavia, and when that ship arrived, say that captain had died or something, so they couldn't close the deal. They couldn't
because the captain was in charge of the merchandise, so he had to, so he was dead. So now who's going to sign off on it?
Yeah, so they had this problem because in those days people died a lot more than they do now. They died, you know, and got ill and a lot more. So they had to think of a way where they could, if they had to make the ship responsible for the trade, so that if the captain did die or couldn't make the journey, the ship itself would be responsible for the
merchandise
business, yeah?
Okay.
So they made shipping corporations. They made the ship into a corporation, and then the shipping companies just dealt with each other as ships, yeah? So when they got back to England and realised they couldn't enslave us because of the law of the land, because of common law, they decided, like under common law, living men and women have got a lot of rights. One of the main ones is habeas corpus, which means nobody can literally lay a finger on your body unless you've been proven to have committed a crime of some sort. There we go.
You're doing great. Thank you so much for this. This is a great story. And it's not just a story, it's the truth. It's the truth of how we got enslaved.
I know. So a corporation hasn't got the same kind of rights as a living man or woman under common law, because under common law, you're born free. It's a God-given freedoms that everyone has when they're born. This is our world. This is our world. And when we're born, we should be completely free to do as we wish, as long as we don't harm anyone or
Yes.
their property, and honour our contracts. That's all that you're required to do under common law. So a corporation doesn't have God-given rights. So they had the crafty idea that they would secretly, through birth registration, make
Birth, you guys, birth. A boat comes in and it births on land.
Yeah. So
You're
they
coming
would,
through the birth canal, your mother's birth canal.
right, yeah. So they made us all into corporations so as they could deprive us of our unalienable rights. And they did. That's what they did.
So let's go back to the ships, the
Excuse
shipping companies, and then
Yeah.
they're trading with the ships. And then how did they bring the ship on land?
Well, we'd love to know, wouldn't we? They did it in secret through courts. So they did it from London, yeah, through the Bar Association,
What is the
through,
bar? What does BAR stand for?
well, that's somebody, there's different opinions about that. Some people say it's the Barristers Association registration, yeah. There's other people who think it's rabbinical law, yeah. Rab, backwards is bar, yeah. Rabbinical law, the way they play with they turn things upside
They
down.
do. They invert all the time. And
So
what is your, go ahead.
there's different opinions on that.
So rabbinical law, I've never heard of that.
Well, if you look at some of the stuff that I sent you, like I think it was on that last thing I sent you, I'll have a look. In some people, when you start getting into this very, very deeply, a lot of this stuff comes from Babylon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
right.
rabbinical law comes from Babylon. And when they brought the law of the sea onto the land and they're treating us as corporations, then it goes into rabbinical law. But that's a really deep part of it. And that's something that really, I haven't got that deeply into it yet.
So let's talk about the ship, which is the courtroom. The
Have you ever
courtroom is the ship.
Yeah, the courtroom's the ship, and you're in the dock. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about like when you go into the courtroom and you're sitting in your chair, you're on the dock.
In the dock.
And then when the judge says, is Michelle Melendez here? And I
No, they
don't
don't say that, do
oh,
they?
go
They
ahead.
say, all stand, yeah, so you have to
Okay.
stand. And then they say, what's your name? They make you say it, right?
Okay.
They don't say it. It's all about you saying it. And once you've said that, the
But
minute
this is
you
before you
said
get on, because you're called up, right? You're
that,
called up and you have to go through the doors, the gateway, which
oh,
is
right,
the gateway is the ships. It's that those two double doors gets you from the dock onto the ship in
ah,
in the
I
courtroom.
didn't know that.
Oh yeah, that's part. I know just a few little things in the
Yeah.
courtroom. In the courtroom, I understand little few things, but yeah. So go ahead. So then, if you're
So,
on the ship, and you're standing there, and then go ahead. What you were saying.
yeah. So they say, what's your name? And if you're gonna, play the game, you stand up and say your name. But if you want to do it in the common law, if you don't want to be associated with it, you have to say, let me just read this.
Sure.
You have to say, what you do is you hold your birth certificate up, yeah, and you say, I am making a special limited appearance on behalf of the defendant who is right here, yeah, right here. So if you say you're their agent or their representative, they'll treat you the same as the ship. So they'll just carry on with the thing. So you can't say you're the agent or the representative. You have to say, I'm just here
As
as
a
a
special
woman.
appearance.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So the minute you say your name, if you don't do that and you say your name, the minute you say it, they can get into your Zeitgeist account.
And
And
what is that?
well, yeah, what does that mean? Um, so once they're into your Setake account, now I told you in that email, I'm not sure how all the money gets into your Setake account. However, I've been reading up a bit today, and I think, if you buy a property, it isn't really yours.
Mm-hmm.
So that money that you've paid, I think, goes into the Setake account. I'm not exactly sure, but this account gets more and more, grows throughout your life.
Mm-hmm.
This
Mm-hmm.
is something we need to learn, and we'll help each other. This is how it works.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to other people and they tell you what they know and you tell them what you know. It's a real movement starting from
Yeah,
the
it
bottom.
really is. It's fantastic. And I think also because the birth certificate creates a bond from the federal government, sorry, Federal Reserve Bank, which is not a government agency. It's part of the private foreign bankers own it. Rockefeller, Rothschild, JP Morgan, all these head honcho families, they own this. It's a central bank that was put in 1933 by Woodrow Wilson. And so what happens, I believe, is that your birth certificate creates a bond from the Federal Reserve, and then that goes into your account. And it's roughly, from what I remember reading, it's about 600,000 to 700,000. I could be wrong. And
But
that
where
just
does that
that
money
starts it
come
off.
from? Where does
It's
it
printed.
come
It's nothing. It comes out
from?
of air. It's
Yeah,
just numbers. It's just printed. It doesn't, there's no money. There's no, this is why the fiat currency is going down the tubes. So
right.
yeah, so if you guys have, and I
Okay.
just want to put a plug in here for gold and silver, Trans World Metals is who I deal with on the islands, but also they sell from all over the world and they buy directly from the mint. So that link is going to be in the description, because if you're in fiat dollars, if your I'm sorry, IRA is your retirement account is in fiat dollars, get it into real estate or gems or something tangible like precious metals, because that you do not want to see that go away. Plus, Biden just put out an executive, I think it's an executive order, that he's going to tax 30 to 40% of your retirement. 30 to 40% could be gone. Yes, so you got to get it. If you get it into precious metals, you can actually there's a amazing way that they're doing it on trans world metals. So if you do have a retirement account, it's in fiat money, you want to learn more about how to save it, check on the link. It's trans world metals, and tell them Michelle sent you. But let's go back to the story. So I believe that's how it starts, because they're printing this money out of nothing, like they're just putting zeros on into the computer. So
Yeah.
that's, I believe, how it starts. But then also every single time you create a contract, which is your driver's license, buy a house, you buy any
Marriage.
marriage is a three-way with the state. That's the
Yeah,
whole reason
yeah,
for a marriage license. And
yeah,
a license is because somebody's given you permission to do something because you're a slave. And that's the whole thing for a
yeah,
license.
yeah.
So yeah, but
Yeah, I
anytime you do,
mean,
go ahead.
up until Victorian times in England, people got married in pubs and everyone was called a common law wife or a common law husband. And then they realised they could earn money out of that as well. So they made you start going to the registry office to do it the same as you
Mm-hmm.
do to register your child. The
Mm-hmm.
idea being that if the marriage doesn't work out, you have to go to their court to get divorced and they take a cut of the money.
Mm-hmm.
Only reason they did it
The
to
whole
get
thing is a
a
business. The
royals. It's
whole
business.
The whole thing is a business. The whole thing is a business. It was actually the ships on the water were a business. They brought the ship on the land, call it a courtroom. Now they're getting money every single time you do any type of transaction. And somebody asked me, how do they get money if when I get a driver's license? I'm not sure how they do this,
Well,
but I
there's
do know.
millions of us. There's millions of us, so it all adds up. If
Yes,
you charge everyone 100 quid, a million hundred is 100 million quid.
that's
It's
right.
a
That's
lot of
okay. Yeah,
money.
that's right, because we do pay for that. I forgot about that.
It is a lot of
Oh my
money.
gosh. They,
And
go ahead.
have you ever wondered why there's so many words in the English language, like membership, friendship,
Oh my
relationship?
gosh.
This is how they insinuate it into the language, and we're saying it all the time, which apparently sends messages to our subconscious that we're a ship. See, they're not into it just on a material level, they're into it on a spiritual and deep
Absolutely.
psychological level. And that's what frightens me, the fact that they're into it on a spiritual level, because common law is spiritual. And that's why a lot of people don't like it. Plus, not many people take kindly when you tell them that they're a slave and they've put their children into slavery as well for nothing. They didn't even sell them. They didn't even get anything for them. They gave them into slavery. Not many people are going to thank you for that. It's only people whose backs are up against the wall a bit, or very much so, like the people in Maui are now. Or people like you and I who just know in their hearts that this is the truth and they've got to do something about it. So
Absolutely.
yeah, these words with ship at the end. And then you can see it in the language in other ways where things are related to the sea and ships and boats. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So this also, when you said, this isn't for everybody, I really feel not only this is a spiritual war and it's a time of awakening, but we're all being called to do what we need to do. It's called what is your kuleana? We call it kuleana here in Hawaii. But what is yours to do? And if people get into the system through their social security number, through then they contract in to pay taxes, because taxes are actually voluntary until you contract in. When you contract in, now you have a contract. You cannot stop paying without revoking and rescinding that contract. So I've done videos on that. We weren't saying, and it's like people are freaking out. Yeah, my boss went to jail for stop paying taxes. Yeah, because you stop paying and you don't get out of the contract and rescind your contract, you will go to jail. But everything is contracts, and that's what the whole system is. And so but when we understand it, we can choose. You can choose. Is it right for you? Does it feel right? Is this journey? It's a journey, you guys, to understanding your freedom. And instead of just sitting there, watching television, go to job, pay all your bills, which your bills are actually already paid by your trust, by this account. It's crazy, and I'm still learning the exact language of how to use that. Do you know about that?
What?
About the bills? Because a lot of times when you
Utility bills.
not utility, yeah, but like credit cards and car payments, things like that, they're actually already paid for through your trust account. And I'm not sure exactly how. I'm still learning how to teach that and how to speak that way. But it is a totally different language.
Yes, it is. Like legalese, you have to learn legalese. You've got a Black's dictionary, haven't you? Which is great, yeah. So my advice to people when they do start is, rather than just stop paying your tax,
no, you
carry
don't want to do
on
that.
paying it and challenge it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't have to be afraid of knocks on the door or court orders or anything, because you're still paying it. So you can challenge it while you're paying it. And then you're not in a hurry. You've got all the time in the world, and you can really do it properly. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep paying the taxes and challenge them anyway.
Yeah, resend it. But so you can check out the school that I'm setting up. It's still brand new. I'm still figuring out things, because I really want to make sure that what I share with people is right from what I understand. And I have hired other people to help me with this. So you can check the link below, you guys. It's blossominnerwellness.com/freedom school. And it just gives you more information to start learning. And also, you don't have to start right away. You can learn this stuff and empower yourself, so you know what's really going on when you go into a courtroom, or if you get a ticket, because those tickets are just for the corporation to make money.
Well, I have started to not pay my parking fines, and I'll show you what they sent me. So what you do is you send them a notice of conditional acceptance. So what you say is, yeah, sure, I'll pay. You just show me the contract, yeah, and I'm happy to pay. Also, I'd like some compensation for my time, because I've spent while writing this letter, etc., etc. So you bill them as well. You turn the tables, yeah. So you say, yes, I'll pay, no problem. Just show me the contract. Plus, I'd like some compensation for my time because
I
well
love
done,
it.
I haven't done anything wrong. So what they did to me was they wrote back and said, we're not paying you because we're not in a contract with you.
Oh my gosh. So then you don't have to pay them. Oh my
They
gosh,
want me
that's
to pay them because I'm in a contract with them, apparently, but they won't pay me because I'm not in a contract because they're not in a contract with me. So, that's how silly it all is in a way. So even though they'd written to me and said, we're not in a contract, I've got it here in black and white, they just kept sending, like, this is the court order. It's a Mickey Mouse court order. It's not real. Okay? So you can see 4th floor, St. Catherine's House. Yeah. So this place in 4th floor, it's just an office on an industrial estate where they've got machines spewing out court orders and they're not real. It's got, looks quite real.
Mhm.
So somebody phoned them up and said, well, what are you doing there? And she said, oh, yes, this is where we give out, you can pay us here. And on here it says, you cannot bring the payment to the court. It will not be accepted. No, because it isn't a court. It's a crummy little office on an industrial estate with people who aren't very clever running it. These people aren't highly educated people. Because somebody phoned them up and I heard the phone call on a recording and they said, so what's actually going on there? And they said, well, you can pay us here. Did you receive one of our, yes, you can pay it here. And the guy said to this woman, he said, well, have you got any judges there issuing these court orders? And she said, no. Well, judge, any court order has to be issued by a judge. So these are just fraudulent, and this is what you'll
Wow.
get sent. And what you have to do is keep them on file, just keep them. Because if it ever did end up in court, this is your proof that they're fraudulent.
Mhm.
It's proof.
Yeah.
It's a fraudulent court order.
Wow.
So you get some judges like Judge Dale who are good judges who do
Mhm.
have a conscience and they do care. Other judges are more corrupt than you dare, imagine. So a lot of the times on the day, it's your luck of which judge you get if you do end up in court.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
some will say, yes, the common law is supreme. Others will just abandon ship. They'll walk out of the court.
Yes, I've heard that happen many times too. So, and then also asking who is contracting with me? Like that is another thing too. Let's see the contracts because the common law, I'm sorry, civil law, civil court is
Yeah,
about contracts.
yeah,
Criminal court is about bodily harm or financial harm.
yeah.
So, so asking who is contracting with the entity actually of your birth certificate, not you, because you are a living man or a living woman. You are not your birth certificate. Your birth certificate is the corporation, the fictitious corporation that they created in order to work with you and trick you into money, into paying them a shit ton of money. It's a ton of money. So, well, Rose, anything else you want to share with us? And then we'll do a quick prayer.
Let me have a look. Let me just see. I've written a few things down.
Yeah.
We bought and sold bonded slaves. We know that we're getting traded on the stock market. Our K trust funds are getting traded by the bankers. So that must mean
Yes.
the bankers know.
Hmm. Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. The
so the
main bankers
bankers
know.
are in on it. The big,
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not the small, if you go into your bank and you're dealing with the clerk, they don't know. They're just a slave like you.
Yeah.
It could be the presidents of each bank know, but definitely the bankers, the foreign bankers, like I said, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, JP Morgan, all of these people who they started the Federal Reserve. They actually created the Federal Reserve and had Woodrow Wilson in 1913. I think I said 1933 last time. It was
Yeah,
1913
yeah,
that it
that's
was
right.
created.
So
And
he put that through the Congress.
the Congress on
On the
Christmas Eve,
Friday night, that was it, just before they broke up for Christmas, and there was nobody in the chamber.
nobody was there.
And this is how they always do it. They always,
Sneak it through. They sneak it. They're
yeah,
sneaky,
very,
lying
very, very sneaky.
demons, demonic
Um,
forces.
yeah, there's one word that I'd like to. When somebody says the word revenue, what do you think? Revenue.
Oh, wow. Okay. I just think revenue is the income, but I guess it's not, it's something else. What is it?
So you think of money, don't you, when you
Hmm.
think of
Yeah.
revenue? Well, if you look at the word revenue, what
Wow.
they do is they change their venue every year. They move their corporation address at company's house. Every year they move their address. Like a criminal
Mm-hmm.
keeps moving house so the police don't catch up with them. That's what they're literally doing. They move their address. This is every council in the country, in the world. Yeah, I don't know what you call it over there, the councils. Do you call it local council?
City councils. Yeah.
So they all move their address every year. So if people are suing them or anything like that, or claiming from them, it just makes it more difficult for everybody. So
To
that's
find
what
them.
revenue really means. Let me just see. Oh yeah, another thing. So a court is just the paper. You can set up a court anywhere. They've set these courts up. They're just to intimidate us. It's all it's for, and to keep imposing this admiralty law with the
Mm-hmm.
dog and all the rest of it. So the court is just a paper. You can set court up anywhere. It's just that's why in court, if it isn't on paper, it doesn't exist. You've got to have it in writing on
Yeah.
paper. So when
Because
they,
that's the contracts and yep.
yeah, so when they got King John to sign the Magna Carta, I think they couldn't get hold of him, couldn't get him into a court or anything. So I think they were out on the field jousting or something, him and all the nobles, and they just got hold of him, got a table, sat him down, put the paper on it, and made so the field was the court. It was called Runnymede. So you can have a court in open air, in anywhere. So when we start taking these people to court, to common law courts, a common law court can be set up anywhere.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say.
And how can people find this information that you're sharing?
Well, I've got this thing, the Judge Dale thing. Now, the one I sent you wasn't this one, was it? You didn't see that one, did
No.
you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So on this one, on the last page, there's some links, and what it's to the National Liberty Alliance, yeah? And on this National Liberty Alliance, it's got all the kind of resources and sources, initial, what do they call it? Initial sources, the very, where all this came from, all the documents where, if you don't believe this is where all the, you need to go to that site. There's so much there, Michelle, you'll be amazed. And you can actually do a course, and I'm going to do it, to become, a common law. I mean, we wouldn't call them lawyers, but just so as you know how to get a court action together. Because this is what people in Maui have got to do. They've got to
Yeah.
start court action. And I mean, basically, you need you need brains and brawn. You need a couple of heavies. Yeah, like they do. They have a couple of court bailiffs. So if anything ticks off, they can manhandle people out of the court. You know, they've got heavies in the court. This is all done with threat of physical violence if you do the wrong thing. So yeah, we've got to be able to get them into court, and this National Liberty Alliance tells you how to do it. It's a very long process. I mean, we need people to start doing these courses. It's a 90-day course, and it teaches you how to take court action, how to set up the court. Or you need a clerk, you'll need bailiffs, you'll need recorder, you know, you'll need all these things. It's got to be done properly. Everything's got to be seen to be done properly.
Yeah.
So, and also the sheriff, we've got sheriffs, right? You've still got sheriffs.
Well, we don't have them on Hawaii. They're actually elected here, and they don't. Hawaii is kind of run by the mafia, basically. I mean, our governor walks out before people even give testimony. The Lahaina people went in to see the mayor to his office. I'm sorry, the governor in Oahu, and he refused to see the people of Lahaina, refused numerous times. They tried, and he kept, yeah, because he's a coward for one. He's an absolute coward, and he's not a governor. He is put in place there for this attack on Maui.
Is that Joshua Green?
Yes, absolutely. And he needs to be peaceably removed from office, from what is called a governor, because it's not a governor. It's not even this Hawaii government isn't even a government. This is a business. The Hawaii state of Hawaii actually has an EIN number, and it's not even a government. It's this business is making these laws and against the people. And there were numerous people that signed a petition saying to Josh Green, do not start, the Lahaina people are not ready for tourists to come on to the west side of Maui. And he went over them and pushed it through because he's a bastard, because he's a coward, because he's a monster. He's a demon in a human body.
Well, he looks like one, I have to say. I mean, and the police chief is another.
Oh, he's absolutely a demon in a human body. That man.
Are
you
sure you haven't got sheriffs? Because I'm sure you have, because I did have a look. There's a sheriff. There was
if we do, they're not elected by the people. They're elected by the governor. The governor. They're appointed. And so that's a whole nother topic, because they're going to be appointing, like the governor tried to appoint a board to talk about what Lahaina, of unelected officials. He tried to appoint an unelected official board to talk about what was going to happen in Lahaina, and he had the meeting on Oahu. So none of the Lahaina people could go. So thank God, because Hawaii, we hold each other's back. We're ohana on all the islands. So there was numerous people from Oahu went in and had their say. But again, the governor left because, again, he's a coward, absolute coward, and he needs to be removed peaceably.
So I had a look on this National Liberty Alliance, right? And they've got committees of safety, and they've divided up the United States into districts, and Hawaii is District 2. And you've got 2 people in Hawaii who are on the Committee of Safety. There's 123 members in Hawaii who are members of this National Liberty Alliance.
What? Oh my gosh. All right. Well, send that to me.
So I will. So these are the people we need to get all together. And what I was going to say about the sheriffs go back to the original, because there weren't any police, there weren't any prisons, or anything like that. It was the sheriff was the person who was between the king, the Witan. Then you have the sheriff who sort of liaised between. The role of sheriff isn't just to catch criminals and that and lock people up. They're supposed to liaise between the people. They're supposed to be the last line of defense, sort of thing, between the people and the government, and they should be approachable by the people.
Mm-hmm.
And on this National Liberty Alliance, they've got a letter, a template letter to send to your sheriff or deputy sheriffs. So I think what you need to do is identify some sheriffs or deputy sheriffs that you think could be amenable or
Mm-hmm.
sympathetic to the Maori people, and send them this letter. And it's about, they've got, you'll see on the National Liberty Alliance, they've got, they're pushing a agenda at the moment to get all the sheriffs to sign up to common law. Because if you had the sheriffs, and also you need people like, there's a lady called Sheila Walker.
Uh-huh. She's on Maui.
You heard of her. So
I know her, yeah.
I'd approach her because do you know Brush Junkie, Tracy? Tracy, she's got a channel called Brush Junkie, and she interviewed Sheila Walker. I think she's on Hawaii as well,
Yeah,
Tracy.
I've interviewed her too.
She's been, oh, have you? Well,
Mm-hmm.
she has been asking for people. People have got to get into local government as well, into the
Well,
local.
see, the thing is with that is I really feel the government is a business. And so I think the whole thing I think what people need to do is take their freedom back through this movement. And that's to create a whole new system because this is a business. It's not a government. And
Yeah.
people, that's why I think people keep getting into the business, like people are running for president. Their president isn't even in charge of the country. It's like he's just a puppet, no matter who it is, because it's a corporation. It's not it's not a government. But Rose, we have to get going because it's almost an hour
Okay,
for
all
people.
right.
So let's do a
Lovely to
quick prayer,
meet
but let's do
you.
another one of these if you're
Okay.
open.
Yeah, okay, let's do
That
the
would be
prayer.
great. Oh, great spirit, infinite intelligence of all things. We're just so grateful for Rose in the UK. We just send her so much love and appreciation and inner strength at this time. She's been doing such a great job in understanding and comprehending, I should say, this game that we're in. And we know this is a game that we all decided to come play. And you have the plan of freedom that is coming for all people, that the truth is lighting up the darkness. The truth is lighting up all of the lies, all the deception, and all the manipulation for everyone to see. And then everyone gets to make their own choice of what is right for them. And we just ask for inner strength entering every single human's body right now to deal with whatever it is that they need to deal with in their life and to be guided to what is theirs to do, knowing that they are always kept safe and that they are loved beyond measure. We know that the consciousness of Jesus Christ, which has the frequency of unconditional love, emanates every single person's body right now. And we know that this world, we are always guided and always taken care of. And we just ask for this time of peace and of harmony for all people, for the world to be a better place, that people can walk around together hand in hand, no matter what their religion is, no matter what their race is. We are one human race. And we know that that is happening now. And we give so much gratitude for everyone's inner strength to do what is right, not what is easy, but what is right. And we know that that is happening. We give so much gratitude and so much appreciation, and so much, so it is.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Rose, for joining me.
You're
And
welcome. And my teacher has agreed to talk to you as well. So
oh,
I'll
great.
send over his email address to you and you can email him.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful. Mahalo for that. And let's also talk soon again because I love all this information is blowing my mind and wow, what a journey we're on. What a
Yeah,
game board.
what a journey. What a time to be alive.
It really is. It really is. All right. Much mahalo
Okay,
to you.
Michelle, take care. God
Aloha.
bless, darling. Bye-bye.
Bye.